And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, welcome everybody to the Mega-WUG Adobe Summit 2026 After Party. We have WUG chapters from across the world joining us today, and we plan to get into the tea with our expert panelists, including several champions. We're going to cover what announcements are changing the landscape and unfiltered responses of what's just not meeting the mark. So just to introduce myself and my co-host today, my name is Becky Barris. I'm lead Workfront at Qualcomm, and I'm also a Workfront champion.
I'm Ola Kalian. I'm VP of Content Supply Chain Architecture at WorkFocus.io. I love Adobe products, and I love the fact that the products can bring in your content supply chain and overall in your stack and your organization, because that's incredible. So stay with us, learn more about different things that our champions and panelists will share today, and let's enjoy After Party.
Thank you. And we're super happy to be here, and we look forward to having a really fun event, very interactive with everyone. So just to go over some housekeeping initially, no self-promotion is allowed at any of these events for user groups. So we just ask that you don't contact anybody without their consent, or if anybody shares any use cases in the meeting or the event, that you don't share it publicly without their permission. Also, this is being recorded as well. So if you don't feel comfortable with that, or if you wish to watch this later, it will be posted on the YouTube channel later. Just wanted to let you know, for anybody interested, that your invitation awaits for joining a Workfront user group. We have chapters from all around the country and even in Canada as well. So there is a link here, and we'll also put a link in the chat for how to join a chapter. When you join events, it doesn't necessarily mean that you join the chapter. So you'll definitely want to join the chapter if you want notifications about future events. Some upcoming events that we have, speaking of hosted by some of the other groups, is one on May 14th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's hosted by WUG Central, and that's a reimagining work with AI, what's next for Workfront. And then we also, not a WUG event, but we have a champion webinar, and this is going to go through the experience of what it's going to be like to be an Adobe champion. It's an application-based program, and highly recommend it. And one of our very own panelists will be speaking on that webinar this year too, Monique. So you can join that and have your pick of which event you'd like to attend on May 14th. Also, if you happen to be in the Atlanta area joining us today on June 3rd, there's a customer success live event. It's a lunch and learn. So highly recommend that, 11 a.m. Eastern time. So that's definitely an exciting event. And you can scan the QR code to get more information on that. I can also put the link in the chat as well. So today, during this event, we're going to revisit several sessions that were at Adobe Summit 2026. Now, if you didn't go to Adobe Summit, no problem. We'll give you the recap, and we'll give you the takeaways, unfiltered version. But these are some of the sessions just for your reference for what we'll be talking about today. And we'll be sure to follow up on Experience League after as well and keep the conversation going. In fact, you can actually join the Summit Experience discussion group, or also this specific event will have a post so that you can address any questions, or if we don't get to all of the Q&A today, then you'll be able to see those answers to the questions that we don't get to in that post. So we'll definitely follow up with that on LinkedIn at the end of the call, because the post exists already. All right, so now let's introduce our panelists. I'd love to turn it over to Monique first.
Hey, everybody. For anyone I haven't met, I am Monique Evans, and I'm a creative operations specialist in all things Workfront and marketing.
Jeff?
Hi, I'm Jeff Gillis. I work on the Integrated Marketing Technology Platforms team at Natixis Investment Managers. Mainly Workfront, Fusion, and planning fall under me as well, and content supply chain for product marketing content.
Autumn?
Yep, my name is Autumn Earl. I'm a lead business consultant at Proficient. My expertise really is in content supply chain across Workfront, Fusion, Gen Studio, and Adobe Experience Manager.
And then Joaquin?
Hi, everybody. I'm Joaquin Avini, and I'm a Workfront implementation consultant, currently with Amazon Music through Mondo. I take that spaghetti monster of your workflow and turn it into a smooth-lined operational blessing.
All right, big thanks to all of our panelists for being here today, and I'm super excited to hear what they have to say as well. And I just wanted to give a heads up to everybody who's on the call today that if you have any questions that you want to ask, you can put them in the Q&A. That's going to be the first place where we'll be checking. And if you want to just interact and participate with different recommendations or different opinions you have on any of the topics, we'd love to hear it also in the chat, not in the QA, but in the chat. So, all right, well, it's about that time, I think, where we'll get into the meat of the presentation. Let's get into the tea, as we call it. So Summit was definitely dominated by AI this year, from CX-driven prompts in the keynote to sneaks showing AI spin up landing pages and run A/B tests instantly. And the agentic AI marketing garage, where you made your own agents, was unlike anything we've ever seen before. Adobe's definitely being really thoughtful in how they're pushing AI forward. But we know how hard it is to get AI into our organizations. You have to sign an AI rider, and most of our companies have our own internal company roadblocks and AI councils that we have to jump through hoops for. So for our audience, we encourage you throughout this event to put your thoughts in the chat. Tell us about your roadblocks that you have, and then just a reminder, questions in the Q&A. And we have a ton to unpack. So first, let's warm up our panelists with a few icebreakers.
Right. First of all, thank you everyone for joining, and we really appreciate your active participation in the chat. We would like to make it interactive, and we would like to remind ourselves a little bit how it was at Summit. And at the same time, if you, for some reason, we are not able to participate, really make plans and mark your calendar for the next year. And let's dive in and remember a little bit, what was your favorite event at Summit? There was so much to do, and I'm sure our panelists can share their bright moments, what's happened at Summit. Monique, what's your favorite event?
I think my favorite part was waking up at 7 a.m. and going to breakfast with everyone. We had a lot of great conversations during that time, and I actually got to see people that I hadn't seen for years. So that's always fun.
Great, thank you. I already want to be there again. So cool. Joaquin, what about you?
So my favorite part of Summit was running the gauntlet of the community pavilion and grabbing as many stuffed animals as I could. It was a straight up bonanza. It seemed like every other booth had something to give you in terms of a stuffed animal.
Great. If participants in the chat also experience some cool moments, please share them in the chat. And I will ask Autumn. Autumn, what about your favorite event?
Yeah, I really loved all the booths that were available at the Community Pavilion, but really the audiences that are there with the AI Innovators section, just learning from people that aren't necessarily a part of a session, beginning it to share their expertise for anyone that's willing to listen.
Awesome. And Jeff, what about you?
I want to add to what Monique said. Clearly, networking, connecting with everyone that you probably haven't seen in a year or prior summits was great. But I also had the pleasure of presenting at a skill exchange with Olya as well, which was a great experience also.
Thanks for bringing this up. That's great. Thank you for sharing great moments. Becky, you probably have more questions to ask.
Yes, I do. And that was a great session too. So thank you all for sharing. Yeah, let's move on to another icebreaker before we get into the sessions. Okay, if AI took your job, what would you do instead? Let's start with Autumn on this one.
Sure. Honestly, I'd probably be an event planner. I really like getting in the weeds of things. I'm really dedicated working in Workfront to making things right and perfect and having that good process and procedure. And I just think event planning, as crazy as it sounds, would be fun because AI can't go create things for you. And I'm a big crafter. I love to craft.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something that, is going to be very, AI couldn't replace too. So it's fun to use that creativity and whatnot. And Joaquin, next.
If AI could find a way to do my job, my hat's off to AI and the developer of such. And then I would probably look to find a way to get out of the simulation, because we would be straight up in the matrix at this point if that happened. So, yeah.
That's great. Yes, it's very difficult for it to do so many of the complex things that we do. So, Monique.
Yeah, I'm a-okay with AI taking my job. There's plenty of other fun things that we could do. So I would probably become like a travel blogger or just go back to the music scene.
I love that. I love that. Definitely. And Jeff, how about you?
I'll take a different spin on this. I do like the message in the sessions about human-led, agent-executed. So it's not taking jobs away, it's going to assist. But I'd focus on what comes after automation, making sure you're involved in the technology. Don't fear the change, be part of shaping it. Because I think there's a fear out there that it's going to take jobs, but get involved with it and help shape the AI. You'll be better off. Everybody will be better off for that.
Yes, you're so right. Yes, I love that human or AI accelerated, human-led AI accelerated. So
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah. Wonderful.
Great. Continuing on the topic of the AI, right? First session that we would like to discuss today was about transforming your content supply chain for the AI world, led by Brent Roderick and Julie Johnson and others. And I'm sure our participants were all ears, listening all the innovation and trends and how content supply chain can actually transform things. And my question would be to the audience, what the next on your company AI roadmap? Probably you're thinking, you're planning, are you leading the charge, or you're taking a wait and see approach? That will be interesting to know. Jeff, what about you?
Jeff, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I had so much good stuff to say there. No, I'll say it. I think we were wait and see for a little bit, but now we are go forward with everything. Like Becky mentioned earlier, we did go through our AI governance committee, which was a process to get approved for the AI in Workfront in AEM, and then we also went through the Adobe Writer. So we're good. And actually, a shout out to Adobe for the security fact sheet that helped clear things up for the governance committee and everybody else involved in there, whether it's IT, legal, or compliance on our side as well. 2 days after Summit, I got an email or a Teams message from our EVP, and it's like, we need help, Jeff. What are we moving forward with on the AI side? So we're going to start right out with the content reviewer, which, basic tier 3 type against brand standards, something probably pretty easy to implement, and then the workflow optimization agent as well. And then after that, the unified review and approval. I've already reached out to our Adobe Workfront account team. That's what we need for that one to set that up as well. So management's on board for these agents and AI in general, which is a great feeling, honestly.
Wow, fantastic. That's inspiring to hear. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely great result, fruitful result from Summit, right? Nice. Joaquin, what about you?
The current implementation I'm working with, they're looking to lead the charge in AI, although they do have to get past the writer at this point. I think a lot of companies that are global or have a lot of structure to them are probably going to have a little bit of a blockage there, trying to get through all of that to make sure they understand exactly what they own, what Adobe allows, what kind of agentics are actually working in the background. But there is a lot of potential there to have that assist, to have a partner that is your AI to possibly work through planning to help kind of build out your planning structure, how to build project plans, how to do reviews, how to be task oriented for you. And so some of those mundane, everyday type of things that maybe might be time consuming for you could really help lift off some of that burden and be a partner in your overall end-to-end processes. So I'm excited to see what we can do with that. The one thing I would say to everybody listening is don't be half in and half out. Fully go one way or the other. You will find that if you change your mind midway through, it's going to cause more problems than it's going to solve. So be full on ready to jump into it if you want to, or full on sit back and wait and see what other people do and make mistakes on so that you can learn from those.
Great tips. Thank you for sharing that. I know, Becky, you also have a great experience with AI. What about your organization?
Yeah, it's definitely leading the charge. I believe I would consider we're trying to implement all the features and fun fact, but we made AI back in 2012. We've been making AI since then. So it's something that's kind of in our blood, I guess you could say.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Definitely AI is a big topic, but we will try so hard to find non-AI questions as well. So stay tuned. But one more AI questions about the sessions that we all experienced at Summit. In the evolution of collaboration in the AI era with Julie Johnson and Jeremy Flores and others, we were learning so much about real stuff, what AI collaborators can do and how they can help us to manage our projects, to manage our tasks, and to be very productive and increase productivity overall for your team members. Becky, I know you've been on the session. Can you share a little bit what you learned and what you're passionate about?
Oh, yes, definitely. So this was one of my favorite sessions, especially because it just shows how Workfront will serve as the operational backbone for all of the agents and collaborators. So it's super interesting to me to think of how you're going to tie everything together in a workflow when it comes to that.
Great. And I'm really interested to ask our panelists about what is actually AI going to replace with your teams. Do you have ideas of how you can apply AI and that your team can support have support with AI or replace them? Monique, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I also really love this session, and humble brag, but there was a slide that Jeremy Flores showed where he kind of had a project and was like, which of these tasks could AI help with or just take over? And I got all of them right. So I feel like at least me and him are kind of seeing a line, but some of those things that were listed was just like Jeff said, review and approval of kind of basic tier 3 things. Maybe there's just those conversations and the handoffs that you could kind of just hand over. But basically just think about it as anything where you're not really thinking and bringing your human thoughts to, and you're kind of just checking a box. Go ahead and give that away. Even something as simple as making assignments, which I know a lot of us are doing in Fusion, but there's a lot of complexity there, whereas AI could kind of handle that and say, for this kind of project, we always assign it to Joaquin, whereas this project always gets assigned to Autumn.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Monique. It's so cool. So many cool ideas. So if our participants in the chat can share their idea, please do so we can learn from what's your expectations from AI collaborators. And maybe product team will be looking into your ideas and they can come to the roadmap. So that's a great chance for you to share some expectations. Great. Thanks for sharing that, Becky. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, let's switch gears to talk about something non-AI related. How about Workfront Frame.io for review and approvals. So Jason Barron, Sarah, Mike, and Harriet ran a lab at Summit on Frame.io. It was very interactive. And for background or context, Frame.io will be enabled in Workfront natively, along with the unified storage and unified approvals. But the prereqs are that you need to switch to the V2 SKU, which could mean contract changes and transferring some files and templates over. I personally am very excited about this feature since generating proofs has come with some challenges and there's some file size limitations. So I think that this is a super good move for Adobe to be introducing this. Olya, what about you? What do you think? Frame's pretty great, isn't it?
Yes, I have like huge expectations in terms of like really unlock the power of that. That's a super powerful tool. Proof for itself brought so much efficiency to the teams to get together in the one page to see all these different comments, but Frame can take it to another level. So questions to our participants. If you experience Frame, can you say yes in the chat? So we know at least you're looking into this feature and interested in that. So we will do more with this feature, because I know Becky really passionate about that. And
Oh, yes,
as well.
definitely. I can't wait for this. So actively working on getting that now. My question for the panelists is, how are you managing the proof to frame.io transition? And do you expect adoption challenges? Let's start with Autumn on this one.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be your biggest issue, is exactly what you said, is the adoption challenges. So to start, everything should be in a phased approach, because you want to get your users, especially your super users, to learn the tool so they're your champions when you're showcasing this and presenting this to your larger base of employees that are going to be using this tool. So one, don't just flip the switch. Start by moving your net new projects over with that process and procedure that you kind of already take place. Don't be afraid to change your process. It might be different, and that's okay. And that's why you want to start with your core user group to make sure they understand what it's doing and it works well. It's not just something you've created, but you're gut checking with that user acceptance testing that everything is moving along as is. And then once you've got your net new content started and it's flowing really great, then let's migrate that old content, migrate your old workflows, migrate everything over that needs to happen in that new unified review and approvals flow.
Absolutely. That's some great thoughts there. I love that. And how about Monique? I know that you're passionate about this topic too.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I feel like I've been working on for probably just as long as Jason Barron. We've kind of been in it with some beta and alpha testing. So to finally see this session, it was like, it's coming true. It's not just a thought in our head or a prototype. But yeah, just like Autumn said, there's a lot of little things that you might have to just think about and make sure that you're ready. And the easiest way to switch over is exactly what Brittany said in the chat of change management, right? Make sure that you are bringing people along, especially the ones that are going to be creating those approvals, because for the approver, sure, it's going to be a different interface change. Most of them are going to be able to find the button no matter where they put it. And that's not going to be a big deal. Whereas the folks that are creating, used to be creating proofs, now they're creating unified approvals, aka document approvals, might be a little bit of a change. And then also navigating Frame might be new for them. So just make sure that you kind of walk them through, be prepared to answer questions, set up some training sessions and documentations, and just really hold their hand through this whole process.
Definitely. Yeah, the education piece is super important. I totally agree with that. Yeah, let's go on to the next session now. So content supply chain investment is one of the hottest topics in the industry right now. But is the multi-million-dollar price tag worth it? Are teams playing the long game, or are they already seeing returns? So the session, Maximizing Your Content Supply Chain Investment Path to Value Realization, surfaced some really strong ROI indicators. Some of those were adoption, if people are actually using the agents, compliance improvement, so if there's less kickbacks during legal reviews or compliance reviews, and customer value. And with headcount getting harder than ever to justify, the question is simple. Is the juice worth the squeeze? With unclear ROI on AI and content supply chain, how do you justify the headcount and the spend? I'll start with Joaquin on this one.
Yeah, I think the big question is, can you afford not to? So I believe we are seeing AI as the wave of the future. How that future totally looks is still undetermined, but AI is here. And the more we invest in it and participate in it, the more we'll be able to understand it and leverage that for our own purposes when it comes to our marketing structures. So I think Jeff mentioned too that there's individuals that will manage AIs, that will train AIs. So there's still some value to have an actual person sitting in a seat helping you formulate that for your company. As well as, if you were paying attention to Summit, there was something underneath everything that was being talked about, and that was context. How much of your enterprise context do you need to onboard in order for your AIs to understand what it needs to do? And people need to do that. So there's still value there in being part of the process and getting it to function properly. I don't ever see a day when marketing is fully run AI. There's still going to be decision makers and reasons to be on board, especially when it comes to creative asset creation. But definitely the sooner you get involved, the better your company will be in the long run.
Completely agree. That's such an interesting take. I love that. How about you, Autumn? What are your thoughts on this one?
So, I mean, a lot of people want to see their money back, right? Like, where's the money going? Where's the money going? But a lot of what you need to see is about, the faster life cycles, reuse and governance, I think are really the two key pieces that I throw here is, the more that you have to do something one time versus 5 because you're following the actual governance and needs reduces the life cycle of what needs to happen from asset creation to implementation. So really the headcount is justifiable because the measurable reductions in that cycle are being completed as well as compliance. You're not having to go through and spend hours and hours out of your time. And that faster life cycle is going to give you that activation across all the channels.
Yeah, what I hear from the panelists that Joaquin brought very interesting point, context, and probably that's also can be measured, like how good your foundation, how much you can get out of this, what you built, right? So that's if you're not in the process of actually measurement already ready to go content supply chain, you can start from your maturity model, understand where you are at with like all the foundation pieces and are you ready for the next level. And then like Autumn said, that then you're already in the process, maybe you can find a couple of those indicators that really can inspire you to that you're making progress towards your goals, right? So start small, start from foundational elements, build this architecture right, and then measurement will come and you're going to get inspired with all the results. So thank you.
So yeah, just something about like everything that's coming out with AI collaborators. And I don't want to touch on too much of that, but with all these AI collaborators, it sounds great, but you also have to think about the cost of the tokens that's going to come about. And is that replacing your Fusion scenario that's free? Or not free, but a paid for product if you're on the ultimate license, I should say. So giving and taking of each one of those items, should your Fusion scenario into, if it's working well, it's not breaking, it's causing no issues, maybe we don't touch it because it's being touched 500 times a day. And if an AI collaborator tool is going to eat up your tokens when you start using those tools in that regard. So I think something else that people need to look at when we talk about AI within the Adobe space.
I love that. Yeah, that's a really good thought that I hadn't considered before. I'd love to hear the audience's food for thought on that too. That's great. And let us know what you think about that too. All right, let's jump into the next session. So back to AI here. So next is AI and the future of Adobe Workfront, which features Paul Vaughn, Jacob Russell, and Lauren. And their session was about how AI is advancing to help teams automate end-to-end workflows. Then they talk about AI collaborators, third-party agents, and MCP access. But what about going back to basics? There's a lot of talk about AI, but what about, you can call me old school, but I'm still hoping that there'll be enhancements to boards in Workfront and Workfront boards. So as we hear all of these sessions about AI and as Workfront workflow leans further into AI, what non-AI product capabilities do you still want to see prioritized or enhanced?
Yeah, I would like to start conversation in the chat because we would love to hear from all our guests and chapters about like what non-AI feature you would like to see. For me personally, planning is a big one. I'm looking forward to every feature every week to look what's coming next, because even though there is a lot of AI feature available, right, to build this foundation, planning help think. Planning can be like this decision-making tool that helps you structure your business, how you thinking about this. So that's why I'm very excited about those features, but I'm sure there is other ones that, like Becky mentioned, boards, and maybe something you're passionate about. Please share that in the chat, and I'm sure someone will pay attention on your comment and will think, okay, maybe that needs to be going next. But yeah, please, Becky, whom you would like to ask first?
Yeah, let's hear from Jeff first on this one.
Sure. So content supply chain, big part of my job, and with regards to workflows, but also, we're all managing PDFs, or people on your teams are managing PDFs. I'd love to see the Adobe PDF service connector to be able to more than it currently does, you know. So maybe more manipulation. This would help in expediting the content supply chain, making it less manual as well for those users, because it is a pain for them to go in there every time. And whether you can leverage Fusion for that or something else and make it less error prone, I think it would help overall. You know, take it down to the basics, to a PDF, but the PDF services connector, if they could enhance that, I think it would help out a lot of folks.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's how everything started too. PDFs. So yeah. Yeah. How about Monique next?
Yeah, I mean, this question actually came up at Summit at the Advocate Mixer, I think is what it was called. And I was talking to Jeremy Flores, who kind of handles all things AI. And he's like, outside of AI, you know, exactly what Becky and Olia asked. And I told him that the thing that we need to get back to is project management, right? Like that's kind of what all of us bought Workfront for at one point or another. And I feel like all of the other bells and whistles are cool. I will sing reporting heavens till I can't anymore, but like the actual being able to organize, do campaign management, project management, and like cleanly tell that story in a way that is kind of transferable is something that we could all really benefit from, whether you're in marketing or not.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely back to those basics. Yeah, project management and planning.
I would like everyone look in the chat. Look at those comments, Malik. You tell the real opinion, real.
I'm glad that I spoke on all of your behalf, so I'm glad to hear that I was right.
Yeah, it's definitely a passionate topic to cover. And Joaquin, how about you on this one?
So I also agree with Monique in terms of trying to get back to the roots of the program. But all of these work management tools were at one point a glorified to-do list that helped us organize our day and prioritize our day, which also leads in then to what I would like to see is more of a connection to our global markets. So if you work with the teams that are in Asia, Europe, America, you probably have sunsetting or following the sun types of teams. And so I'd really like to see a little bit more connection with there, as well as meeting them where they are. So we have agile teams, we have standard waterfall teams, we have different structures, we have ad hoc. So it would be really nice to see a little bit more of that connection. And that goes back to boards being more robust so that we can bring our agile teams and really structure the way they work. So they don't have to jump to a different system or have a system integrated into Workfront in order for them just to be engaged in our process. And the last thing I would also like to see more people do, and now this isn't something that needs more attention, but I think more users of Workfront talk about this when they first start an implementation, and that is work management or resource management rather, and really leveraging capacity planning and resourcing from that perspective. Everybody's gung ho about it, but within months people drop it because either they find it too cumbersome or too much time management to do time management. So that would be nice to see a little bit more built out so that it's easier to use.
Agree. Yeah, thank you. I always love hearing from everyone else on like what features they're using more in their companies. So it's super interesting to hear. And I totally agree. I mean, with Agile too, you know, like that's I know like a lot of teams use Jira for Agile specifically. So those type of project management capabilities would also be great to enhance. So yeah, let's move on to the next question here. So next, reimagining enterprise workflows with agentic AI with Osner and Steve, where they talked about new AI features in Workfront, including AI collaborators, third-party agents, and the workflow optimization agent. I think it's great that companies can leverage the agents that they've already built and trained for so long on their brand. What about you, Olia? What do you think about that as well? Introducing third-party agents and having those be able to be used in addition to the native Adobe agents you'll be able to.
I believe in architecture. I believe in the structure, foundational elements, and actually some statistics. I'm right now participating in AI product management class. There is 2 tracks, one strategy and one builder track. hundreds of people apply to the builder track. Everyone wants to build something, to produce something, to show quick result, to do things, but only like handful of people like want to think, want to strategize, want to like invest this invisible capital to build this foundation. So I encourage everyone to think first, like what you're trying to build, right? Even though building skills will come, and agents probably will take those out even of equation for execution. But think about the strategy building blocks, architectural pieces that allow you to then, on this foundation, really excel. So that will be my take.
Absolutely. That's a good take. And here's some food for thought. Is Adobe's strategy of combining both native and third-party agents the right move, or do you think it's a sign that they're falling behind? Monique, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, that's a hot take, Becky. Yeah, I don't think that Adobe's fallen behind on this one. I mean, I would say it if I did think it, but I think letting customers kind of use what they already have, especially we already talked about the AI writer being a pain and getting those approvals. And if you're in like finance or healthcare, thoughts and prayers, because that's a whole other beast. But, I think as people are building these agents in Copilot and Gemini and OpenAI, et cetera, the last thing you want to do is have to either create a new one for Workfront or figure out like, are they compatible, et cetera. So I think in this regard, Adobe's probably doing the right thing, letting people use what they have. And then to Autumn's point earlier, then it's free, quotes free, because you already are paying for that agent instead of Adobe. So that's going to bring on a lot more adoption as well.
Yeah, yep. I definitely think that's the right way to go too. It's just crazy how fast things are moving. Like the things that we're working on building now, they could change in the next month or two. So it's really crazy how fast that everything is moving with AI. And then Autumn, did you want to tell us about your thoughts on just keeping up with the industry on this with the third-party agents?
Yeah, so keeping up with the industry is what it is, right? So your institution may or may not allow you to use any tools available, but it's always good to be in the know, following The Wire and other blogs that show you what AI is available, not necessarily to use for work, but for you to understand what's coming down the pipeline. So I think that's really important. I want to comment on Monique's, what she says, like, I 100% agree. Like, what happens if a client just implemented a 1-year transition to a brand new system, but they want to incorporate it, and Workfront has another system that's similar, but it's going to take a while to implement. So you want to integrate those processes and make them work efficiently, because there's no reason not to. If you just bought writer.ai, thankfully there's now going to be a new integration with Adobe that they just announced. But I've been working on scenarios for a client to integrate writer.ai with Workfront instead. So I've already created that scenario, and it's going to do a little bit more capabilities with specific to their needs in Writer than what's available in the current native connection that's going to be coming down the pipeline here soon from Adobe in Q2. So with these in mind, you're really keeping a focus on, hey, this is working and it's working well. It's kind of like when AEM assets became available natively. You could still do it with Fusion, and there's a lot more that you could do with Fusion. So I think having that ability to show hybrid models and being able to do, especially with your own third-party data, very, very important.
Definitely. We're big users of Writer as well. So yeah, I think it's a very strategic move on Adobe's part to go this approach and direction.
That's so great that the plenty example at Summit were introduced for the real use cases, real build, real result, that people already have this build out what we may be trying to think through. And one of the session, how SAP is rebuilding the content supply chain for AI powered scale, was really interesting, because plenty of practical example, real achievements. And Becky, you've been on the session. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, this was a great session, and I'm super interested to hear if people are prioritizing creative tools with integrations like Frame, Express, and Gen Studio, or if they're prioritizing more of the executional platforms like Marketo and CDP, or the publishing endpoints like Seismic and AEM. I know that all of them are important for us, but we're prioritizing the publishing endpoints like AEM first.
Yeah, it led me to believe that a very interesting question we can ask our audience, like what system absolutely needs to talk to each other, right? Not integration and automation just to seek for automation, but what's really necessary. And it will be nice to hear from you in the chat what you believe the most important system to connect that really will give you this, 80% of productivity and efficiency. And I would like to ask our panelists what absolutely needs to talk to each other in your content supply chain and what may be optional and secondary. I would like to ask Autumn.
Yeah. So speaking from a content supply chain perspective, you've got three buckets in my mind from content supply chain: the creative piece, the work management piece, and the implementation piece. So those are the three foundations of where you're going and what you're doing, how it's being done, and how it's being delivered. So obviously from the Adobe Studio or Adobe ecosystem, we have your creative suite. So that's going to be Creative Cloud, Firefly, even Gen Studio. So having something of those, or even Figma, not that we don't want to discourage Figma, but even if you have all those, you need to have that tool integrated with your system. Second, we're going to talk about work management. Obviously, it's going to be Workfront. But if you don't have Workfront and you're streamlining the process, you can still use Gen Studio. Gen Studio can both be a creation tool and a project management tool, depending on how you want to use it. And all of those can be integrated together. And last but not least, of course, we've got to talk about AEM. AEM from sites perspective, a content fragment perspective, AEM from an assets perspective. But if you don't have AEM, you can use any other DAM. You can use AEP as a whole. You can use Salesforce. There's a lot of other places that you can use depending on how you're delivering that content. As well, Gen Studio can also deliver content depending on what system it's available for emails and social. And I think there's one other that Gen Studio does. I'm not thinking of that one. So all of that to be said is you can use one tool on its own, but when you combine all these tools together, whether it's an Adobe product or not, it's really going to activate your content supply chain as a whole.
Wow, so many cool options, right? You need to think through which one to choose.
Yeah.
Awesome. Vakil, what's your take on this?
I don't think I have anything left to say. Autumn took all my points. So thank you very much. We'll take this next minute to reflect on what Autumn just said and see if you guys are up to speed on any of these things. No, I'm just kidding. I think I would like to also break mine out into a trifecta. I think it's planning, development, and retention. So the idea is we don't want to let loose our creative teams or our content creators just to do work. I think that's one of the reasons why we got a work management, because we already feel that they're out there just doing their own thing without any sort of strategy in place or planning in place. So planning is that part. Any tool that helps you strategize and plan for your year, your quarter, whatever, is going to be really useful. And then to have that move right into your development platform, which hopefully is Workfront, and that's part of your work management tool. And then you need some place, once everything's been developed and approved and ready to go out into the market, you need a repository. So this is where the retention happens. And so that would probably be any repository, whether that's AEM or something else. You can definitely use that to help kind of put a bucket of place for all of your assets, and then hopefully too allow you to create derivatives and variations on a theme for those assets as well. So
thanks for sharing that. I think our participants today will come with the idea which next tool to look at, which maybe tools to connect together and what to experiment with, because there's plenty of options was given and plenty of cool use cases discussed. I think now it's time to dream big and talk about trends, right? In one of the session, top 5 AI trends and what they mean for your content supply chain was really a lot of discussion. Actually, it was shared 5 trends in exact order what to focus on. But I would like to ask our participants in the chat, what do you believe the best trend that can happen in the AI world? What do you believe that trend you believe in that's actually going to be reality? And I would like to ask our participants as well, is there any trend you think should make this top 5 list? Is it the same that was shared, or maybe you have your opinion on that? And what's been all hype but low adoption in your org? Maybe there is trend, but it's not even touching you. So that will be interesting to know. And Joaquin, I will ask you.
Oh, so I get to talk before Autumn this time? Sweet. No, I think of the 5 trends that they just posted here, I think the most important one that should get hyped even more is trust built into the system. So we need our AI to show us that we can rely on it. We don't want it to hallucinate. We don't want it to create errors. We don't want it to do anything that drives us away from what our true intention is, and that's to get content out into market for everybody to see. So, and I think, I can't remember who said it, but basically they're saying like we could see success 9 times, and the one time it actually fails is when it's going to do the most damage for us. And that often happens at the worst time. So you have to kind of build into that and hope that on some level we end up building that trust. The one thing that I think maybe is a little too hyped, and this is probably just old school me from marketing, is that idea of having our synthetic audiences. This just sort of echoes the same thing of like data-driven audiences and personas, and that we are trying to target a specific group. We can't know for 100% what we're going to do is going to be successful. So to rely too heavily on this to hopefully gain some ROI in our campaigns might be a little misleading. So I know we can narrow it out and give us the better option. And so we still have to determine that on some level. And so I think this could also be one of those places where if we get it wrong, it's probably going to be a lot of time spent on something that is not going to be as fruitful as we think it's going to be. So, but I'd love to see it develop. I'd love to see it become a little bit more robust. Maybe there's more components to it, so it becomes more of an algorithm than a true sort of audience build for us.
Thank you for that. Great thoughts, a great trend. And thank you for all panelists for sharing great ideas in our participants in the chat. Becky, I think we went through a lot of questions. What's next?
We did, yes. Okay, so we always love to add some fun element on there, and we also want to hear from our audience too. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the Q&A so that people can put their questions in the Q&A box, and then we will try to get to those. But while people are doing that, let's do something fun. Let's do a fast fire round. I'll start with Autumn. Coffee or cocktails?
Oh, I love both. I really do. I mean, each one, I'm going to have a more fun answer, obviously, over cocktails, I think, but I get my juices flowing more when I'm drinking coffee.
A good point. Yes. Agree. How about Joaquin?
If you've done it right, coffee after cocktails.
Love that. Yes, totally. Monique, coffee or cocktails?
Yeah, I don't do coffee, so by default, cocktails.
That's great. And Jeff?
I guess it depends on what time of day it is, right?
Not
But
in Vegas.
yeah, morning coffee, at night cocktails, or if you want to have that espresso martini at night as well, so you have both, I guess.
Yeah, 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
I can answer coffee and tea with all of you. That's our warm audience. So much learning we can do together. So that's awesome. Thank you. And I have one more question for you in terms of very hard question. Is it networking or labs? Monique, what's your take?
Why am I first? Those are my 2 passions and why I go to Summit, but I'm going to say labs just because they're not recorded and I know how to find all of y'all. So I can always talk to you.
Awesome. Joaquin.
I like networking. I think it's a great place to meet people that I've seen on screen and actually get to meet them in person and shake their hands.
Great. Autumn?
Yeah, I'm also going to go with networking as much as I love the labs. And it's like the only sessions I actually attend because they aren't recorded. I get a lot out of networking, seeing old clients, seeing old colleagues, seeing this group in person. You're not going to get the same conversations in the hallways and everywhere else with us working from home and being across the world that you would get with networking. That's something.
Thanks for sharing that. Jeff?
Yeah, it's networking as well for me, because I think, you know, you're meeting different people and finding out they may be utilizing a software or a tool differently than you're doing, and connect later on that. And everybody always seems to be more than willing to connect, as am I, with other people to go through and have some knowledge here. I think that's a great opportunity for networking to expand your own knowledge in areas. And plus, meeting cool people is always nice as well.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you. Becky?
Yeah, I would definitely say, I think, you know, networking for me, even though the labs are great, I think I get the most out of networking. And now let's move on to the next hot, fast fire question. So AI for ideation or execution? Autumn.
Always so hard questions. I think ideation is what's most common right now and gets our juices flowing from a human perspective. And I love that. And I think that still needs to continue. But AI is the future when it can actually execute on something that you need it to do, because that's where your time is most spent, is the execution, once you get those juices flowing.
Great.
Definitely. Joaquin.
Ideation all the way. I think AI is really great to bounce ideas off of and see kind of what's out there, and then allow the executors to execute. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds right to me. Yeah. Monique.
Same as Joaquin.
Interesting. Very good. And how about Jeff?
So I think I'm going to lean a little bit towards the execution part of it right now, to dovetail on what everybody said here as well. But I think execution is what we're probably always being measured on as well. And it's probably a little bit more tangible to begin, but I agree with the ideation as well.
Yes. I wish we could say both. Olio, what about you?
Oh, I love both of them, like you said, but ideation probably help you go through like a lot of options faster, and then just zoom in on the exactly path forward where you can apply for execution. Thank you, team, for sharing that. I have one very interesting question. Now it's time to show your harvest, what you've done at Summit. Please show your swag, and what's your favorite swag? That will be interesting to know. Please show in the camera what you got on Summit, and participants in the chat, you can you can show those different cool things. Wow, Monique, what is this for you? That's so cool.
This is a sneaker that is a keychain that I got from Dick's, and I love sneakers. Like, I think I own maybe 100 pairs at this point, so that was a no-brainer.
That's awesome. I see champion hats. I see different amazing Adobe advocates, amazing view. Autumn, what is that? That's so
This
cool.
is a desk mat. So I work on a glass desk. So this is phenomenal, and it's twice the size of my other one, but it's this really cool picture that was created with Adobe Firefly when you went to the AI studio, which I love it. It's so great. This is one of the few things I didn't give a client. So
one reason to come at Summit Live, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then this was my dog's favorite, as you can tell. It's been a little
Even making dogs happy. That's awesome.
and so we got lots of swag over here.
Great. And I see that Jeff has an amazing hat. That was like signature at Summit. Jeff, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's different for somebody from the Boston area walking around in a cowboy hat. That's so it stands out a little bit. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. You have some really cool swag in you.
Yeah, I do. I love it all. I really, I think my top three are like, I love the Cotopaxi bags that they gave out. And then I love sweatshirts, like light sweatshirts and polos. But this chain is thebomb.com.
I love the user group. If you're a user group leader, the shirt that Olia is wearing, super soft and comfortable. I'm really a big fan of that one too. That was really nice for everyone's there. And I believe if you're a subject matter expert and you went up to the certifications, you got a whole bag of swag, and it's the only thing that included a monetary value of a $50 gift card. So that one was really nice. So don't ever forget to get certified, become an expert, subject matter expert, and you get extra swag as well. I think it's like on the 5th floor every year. And you don't have to do the certification there. You can just show that you're certified, and you get fun pins and some other swag depending on what your level of effort is.
That was actually amazing. I experienced that. Autumn, thank you for sharing. I think it should be encouraging for everyone to become or user group leader or champion. You have all the opportunity to do so. Application, talk to community, talk to expert, participate in all the different certifications, exam creation. There is plenty of opportunity that Adobe provides for us, and that's incredible. That's great. Becky, we have just a couple of minutes left. How do you feel about our Q&A?
Yeah, we do. We have a couple minutes. We'll follow up after, and I put the link in the chat for where the post will be on Experience League, and also we'll follow up on LinkedIn, so you can check for that link for anything you missed, all of the helpful links. But we did get a couple of questions that were actually in the chat earlier, so I don't want to skip those. Somebody asked, will planning have high-level resource management to replace scenarios? Do any of our panelists or Oli, did anyone want to take that?
I think robust resource management that we have in Workfront probably will be extended and enhanced, right? Autumn, what do you think?
Yeah, so pretty much, yeah. I'm actually working with a current client to troubleshoot that use case exactly. So they're using the resource planning platform, but they're still always constantly behind, and they can't figure out what that bottleneck is. But they just also bought Workfront Planning or brought on Workfront Planning. So I think we're going to reimagine the process and then use AI to kind of determine where those bottlenecks are occurring in that resource planning and why it's always delayed. Haven't gotten into the too big of the weeds of it to give a full answer. But I think Workfront Planning and moving over the planning piece to the actual function of the working piece across the two different systems is really going to showcase what you should be doing and then what the actuals are with real-time updates.
Okay. Thank you. We do have another question too. That was a great response, and I'm sure that if you're still on the line who asked that, because it was an email address, then let us know if you want any further expansion on that. The other question we have time for that I saw earlier is there any on-demand training or a video preferred for intro to resource management? Would anyone like to comment on that?
Yeah, I did reply in the chat, but I will follow up because Autumn was like, drop links. I'm like, girl, I don't have those ready. But I will find them and I will drop them in the follow-up community posts for this event. But yeah, there's a couple of scale events that have happened. They did like a whole series last year on resource management, resource planning, workload balancer, etc. I think there was like 3 or 4 of them. So I will find those. And then Mega-WUG earlier this year had a fun little session where Ross and Victoria both presented how they are doing some really interesting capacity planning things as well.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So yeah, there are helpful resources out there, so you can definitely share those links. There are a couple other questions, but I can follow up on those after. I think just about they were on the topics of frame.io receiving like better attention in terms of development, and then also they were about like Gen Studio having the planning or project management capabilities. But since we only have 4 minutes left, I wanted to turn it over to our final question. Olya, do you want to ask?
Yeah, only 4 minutes, and our panelists, I would like you to give your thoughts and wisdom and your inspirational quote to all our participants who stayed with us the whole hour. What you would think that will be the best inspirational thoughts from you for everyone to move forward with after today's event? Jeff, what's your thoughts?
So I'm going to repeat what I said in the beginning one. Don't fear the change of AI. Be part of shaping it.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Let's be part all together, and in the community we can do more. Joaquin?
Yeah, I think the kind of same thing is change is inevitable. So the more we embrace it, the better we'll be. And there is a bevy of resources out there. Our community is one of the strongest communities out there in Adobe. There's a lot of people that love to answer questions, that have been in the weeds like you have. So lean on those individuals too, as you're kind of hitting those roadblocks in your development.
Awesome. Thank you, Monique.
Yeah, I feel like I said everything that came to mind, but for next year, it's not too early to start planning. So take all of the feedback that we gave and start selling that into your leadership, or just start saving up, and hopefully you can make it next year.
Awesome. Great advice. Very practical. Thanks for that. So let's be prepared for the next year. Autumn?
Yeah. Well, 2 things. One, to prepare for next year, consider doing a session. If you have a really transformative experience, apply to be a session speaker, and then your ticket's paid for, and that your company has to send you. They can't not send you. So that's number 1, just if you're interested in talking about that. But really, I think the takeaway here is kind of more on like what Joaquin said, is go to Experience League. There's so much information out there. There's so many things that you can learn from. And I think a lot of people are here finding out, and you're a part of this group because you know about Experience League. But don't be afraid to message people. I know last week, I think Monique and I were on the same panel, and I made this comment. I reached out to Monique years ago for questions on Experience League and then LinkedIn. And most of the time people are going to answer you. If they don't answer you, maybe they're busy, or people are nice enough that they're going to say no. But if you have someone who's done something that you've seen in an experience leak, but they doesn't have quite the right answer, there's no reason that you can't reach out to them and have a conversation. Most people are pretty nice about it. So don't be afraid to reach out and go learn, go find out something new.
Thank you. That's so good advice. Thank you so much. We have only 2 minutes left, and thank you everyone for being there with us. Becky, over to you to wrap up and to think what's going to be next.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for your time today, and hopefully you're feeling inspired and you had, you shared your thoughts on everything. Like we say, the only constant is change. It seems like with all the changes coming. So be sure to take a look out for our Post on Experience League. That'll have the helpful links, and then we'll post resources in that chat for all the other questions we didn't get to, like about just some training materials, and then frame and proof questions. And we'll see you hopefully at the next event, May 14th. As a reminder, there's the champion webinar, and then the WUG AI event, and then June 3rd for Atlanta. So
Definitely. Project management community, right? Because we're just in time, 30 seconds before the end of the event. Amazing time and amazing panelists. Thank you for all your thought. Thank you for all participants. Great chat conversation. Please follow the news, join the community, become a chapter leader, or just participate in this amazing conversation. And let's continue after party go until the next summit. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And have a nice rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks.